Morning folks, Chris here for Bush Kiddz. We're going to talk about another tool safety video today, and today is folding saws. So what I've got here, just a sort of gardening pruning saw. You can pick these up from most hardware places. I think this is a Wilkinson's we have in England. You often get them, the likes of Aldi and Lidl. Their stuff's actually pretty good and really reasonably priced. When looking at a folding saw, a good feature I look for is it lockable. So this one actually, you need to press the button to release it, and then, I don't know if you heard that click, it will lock in place. So first safety tip is, if you're using a lockable saw, when you've opened it, ensure that it is locked in place. Another type of folding saw we can get are the ones you find on Swiss Army knives. Now, you need to understand the limitations of our tools. The saw blade on this is only so big, so I wouldn't want to be trying to cut anything much bigger than the length of the blade. It starts to make it really hard work. There are special techniques to try a little bit bigger, but let's make life easy and stick with no longer than the length of our saw. Now this one does not have a locking blade, so we need to be extremely mindful that when we're sawing, we're only ever going to apply pressure downwards. Now what can happen sometimes is your saw can get stuck in the work that we're sawing. So if this had, very carefully, if this had jammed up, if we tried to pull it out of the jam, there is the chance that it could close on our fingers. So if it does get jammed up, let's move our fingers up out of the way and see if we can work it out. So we've got two options for a workbench here. I've laid the wood across the back of the shelter, where again I can hold it in place, and sawing on this side I'm nice and safe. Or I can take it down to the bench here, line up where I want to saw, and as long as I make the angle of the saw this way, again, it cannot slide into my hand. I want to be nice and safe sawing there. You just want to be a little bit careful of changing that angle. You wouldn't want it to slip over onto our hands there. So I'm using this natural fork here to rest my work on, and what it allows, or it protects, with these branches, it stops the saw sliding over and damaging my hand. So I can saw safely knowing that the saw is not going to slide down and catch me on the hand. So if we were going to saw down from a live tree, again we'd need to have permission to do this. We want to consider the way the branch is growing. So at the moment, the outside of this branch, all the fibres are being stretched apart. On the inside there, they're being pushed together, so they're being compressed here and stretched there. So if I saw from this side, what will happen is that pressure will squeeze and jam up on my saw blade. So I actually want to cut from this side, cutting through, and that way my blade won't get stuck. Now, when using sharp tools, we want to think about the project in advance. Let's plan ahead. That's a lot safer. And one thing we always want to consider is only take the saw out or open the blade up when we are ready to use it. And once we're finished, close it up, put it back in its sheath. I'm going to use this bench as my work table. This hand, my left hand, is going to keep the work nice and stable whilst I saw with my right. I know where I want to cut. I'm now ready to open up the saw. Now it's important to know whether your saw cuts on the pull stroke or the push stroke. This is a pull saw. So once I've lined it up, nice angle for safety, I'm going to pull one stroke. There's another. I've made my first little groove, so the saw has something to rest in. Gently push forward, because the push isn't the cutting stroke. Pull back firmly. push, pull, push, pull. Now I'm going to slow down as I get near the end because I want a nice clean cut. And there we go. Finished my job. Close the saw. Job done. Now tool care is also very important. So once I've finished my project for the day, I'm going to clean up my saw. Make sure that I've removed any sawdust from in between the teeth. If I've been working with green wood, now that's got a little bit of moisture in it. If left in there, it could start to rust the blade, which would damage it and dull it. But also, if I'm working on green wood, I wouldn't want to move between trees because there is a risk of passing over any infections or diseases those trees may carry. So I always want to work with a nice clean blade. I'm going to close that up now. Occasionally you may need to oil the hinge just so we have a nice smooth action, and yep, keep it stored in a nice dry, clean, airy environment. That is how to care for your folding saw. Now using this knowledge, go out and create something. We look forward to seeing what you can produce. Cheers!